Is installing a cam on your C5 Corvette worth it? Not so long ago, I had the BTR Stage 2, the red hot cam, installed on my C5 Corvette, and looking back at it, it was pretty expensive, but there's a few things I take into consideration in determining whether or not it was actually a worthy investment. I have a video that does a full breakdown of the cost of the complete kit that I put together, as well as installation, so you can check that video out if you have any interest, or if you're thinking about pursuing a cam installation on your C5 Corvette. That'll give you a better idea of what to expect. I'll give you a quick summary right here though, just because we're all here together. Again, I went with the BTR Stage 2, and like I've said before in other videos, prices could vary pretty significantly depending on the package that you put together. The kit that I sort of pieced together based on information that BTR provided me, as well as some of my friends that are LS experts and other Corvette enthusiasts. So I did again, the BTR Stage 2 camshaft itself. I did the CHE trunnion upgrade. I did the push rods, I did the dual springs, I did the LS7 lifters, I went ahead and did the timing chain and the oil pump as well. That complete kit, as well as of the gaskets, the fluids, the bolts, and all of that, that complete kit was about $2,100, I want to say, $2,108, something like that. Check that video out. It gives you a full breakdown, item by item, how much everything costs. Again, you could do this in a less expensive manner. You could go as simple as just doing the camshaft, but I chose to make sure everything was sort of refreshed and healthy, because my LS engine in my C5 Corvette had over 100,000 miles on it at the time, so I thought it was probably a good idea to do the lifters, even though that's a pretty significant increase in expense. The valve springs, it just made sense to do it. The push rods again, and the trunnion upgrade, I think I would recommend to anybody that is doing any work on the valve train on the LS1. It just makes sense, and it gives you sort of peace of mind going forward, especially as you start increasing the performance of the vehicle, or you start pushing it regularly, right? So again, all that was about $2,100. I chose to do a bunch of other things in addition to it, just to make sure the engine bay was fresh and healthy. So I did upper and lower radiator hoses, I did water pump, I did all new brackets and pulleys and belt and spark plugs. So really everything was fresh. You'll have to check that video out because I can't remember off the top of my head how much all of that costs. Then as far as installation goes, I happen to have a friend that's relatively local to me that does this type of work as a side job, and it's actually sort of his side business, and he's an LS specialist, so he's done tons and tons of these C5 Corvette cam installations, and he charges, at least at the time I had this installed, a flat rate of about $2,200. But while he's in there, he cleans literally everything. All my brackets were cleaned up, the valve covers were cleaned, the heads were cleaned, my rocker arms were soaked. They looked brand new, soaked and cleaned, looked totally brand new at the time of installation. So my engine bay looked completely freshened up when he was all done. So although that does seem like a kind of a higher end fee, there was a ton of value in it, in my opinion, and because of the fact that I was traveling a bunch for work at the time, I didn't want to take up my entire garage with a Corvette that was all broken down with parts laying all over the place while I tried to do this installation myself. Now, you probably could tackle the installation yourself. There are a ton of videos online, step-by-step processes, so you could certainly follow along and handle it, especially if you have any mechanical aptitude whatsoever and a good set of tools on you. You could probably handle it, save yourself a bunch of money, at least $1,000 or more. So something to take into consideration. And again, depending on what components you choose to go with or to forego for the cam kit itself, you could probably come in well under the price that I paid. But I think all in, I was sort of approaching that $5,000 mark. So yeah, it's expensive. And looking back at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, was it really worth it? But I stopped myself. Because here's the deal, guys. Let's be honest, right? The C5 Corvette is a pretty stout car on its own. It's relatively light. It's low to the ground. It's planted. It's nimble. It makes a bunch of power, and it's pretty torquey, even in stock form. So it's not a car to be messed with, even at 30 years old now at this point. Compare that with an upgraded suspension, a nice set of brakes, and a good set of tires. It's quite an animal. Then you throw some headers at it and a catback exhaust. With a tune, you're, what I've seen numbers, well over 330 wheel horsepower. Again, in a car that weighs about 3,000 pounds, that's as aerodynamic and as torquey as the LS1 is in the C5 Corvette. It's quite a beast. So do you really even need to install a cam to make it that much better? This is where I stopped myself, because it really is a good car as it is, and it doesn't take much to make it even better. But a cam? The cam does some things. First of all, it gives you the little when you're sitting in the seat. It's kind of fun. Also gotta love that crispy throttle response that you get with the cam Corvette. You know, sitting in a parking lot, whoa, whoa, whoa. I love that. And the RPM drops so quick. God, it's beautiful. The other thing, obviously, the throttle response while you're driving the car actually is fantastic as well. Really, I mean, you hit it and it goes. And you gotta love that. That's the beauty of owning a cammed Corvette. Cammed Corvette owners would be lying to you if they told you they didn't care about the attention that they're getting once they get their Corvette cammed, because obviously they do love it, right? Corvettes are a dime a dozen. We see them all over the place. C5, C6s, C7s, C8s are all over the place now. And sure, people will see them, oh, that's a nice Corvette, but normally they're just waiting for you to get out so they can make fun of your jean shorts and your New Balance shoes. But when a cammed Corvette comes by, everybody's doing this. Because you can't beat a cammed LS. It just brings something out in people. It brings a youthful, glorious exuberance, this like just excited feeling out of people when they hear a nice, lopey, aggressive, choppy cammed Corvette come by. And I don't blame them. It feels good to be noticed. It feels good to have a little bit of attention on old, lowly Corvette when social media and car shows have been overrun by supercars these days. I can't believe how many GT3 RSs you see at Cars and Coffee now. How many McLarens, Lamborghinis, Ferraris. I think I saw a dozen GTRs at the last Cars and Coffee this weekend. Maybe 6 or 7 Ferraris, 3 Lamborghinis, and I couldn't even count all the Porsches that I saw. I remember when those were rare sightings at Cars and Coffees or at car shows, but now it's literally all you see. And scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or all the YouTube videos, it's all, I bought a Ford GT, or I bought a McLaren, or I bought a wrecked, whatever. So yeah, I don't blame them for the fact that they like a little bit of attention that a cam gets a Corvette these days. Of course, the other benefit to installing a cam on your C5 Corvette is the additional horsepower and performance you're going to be able to pull out of it. I've seen numbers come from similar setups, a stage 2 cam or cams with essentially the same specs, paired with an intake, long tube headers, and a catback system, yield about 385 to 405 rear wheel horsepower. Not too shabby. I think if you're getting close to that 400 wheel horsepower mark, that's pretty darn good. I don't think that's a very common result for this setup, to be honest with you. I think those people that did get those results may have been on a very happy dyno, or maybe they had one of those cars that just seemed to produce more power than the average C5. But I think if you're getting up into that 385, 390, 395 horsepower range with this setup, that's pretty damn good. Think about a car that weighs, 3,200 pounds, 3,300 pounds. That's low to the ground. It's aerodynamic. It makes a bunch of torque, now well over 400 foot-pounds of torque with this setup. That's a pretty solid performer. There's not going to be very many cars that'll beat you out in the street if you decide to do a little pull on the highway in Mexico. But it's definitely going to get you that snappy, throaty, put you back in your seat type feel. And there's a lot to be said about that. 400 wheel horsepower in a 30-year-old car with honestly not that much work and not that much money put into it. Considering the fact that you could do the installation yourself and you could really simplify the parts that you put into it. We've already talked about the attention that the choppy cam gets the C5 Corvette these days, but the chop itself is one of the benefits to installing the cam on the C5. Yeah, of course, you get the extra horsepower and you get the extra throttle response. That's all well and good, but it sounds freaking fantastic. That old chop might be worth $5,000 itself. Blah, 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 blah. So what's the verdict? Is $5,000 to cam your C5 Corvette worth it? Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. Again, you could do it for much less than that if you choose to simplify the list of parts that you do during the installation process. And if you do the installation yourself, you're going to save probably $1,500 to $2,000, right? So you could get this choppy cam sound, you could get this additional attention, you could get that beautiful throttle response, and you can get the near 400 rear wheel horsepower out of your 30-year-old Corvette for well under $5,000, we'll say. And I think there is a ton of bang for the buck there. Now you're gonna have a really stout, really reliable, durable, long-lasting LS1 that is a joy to drive. Pure bliss to drive. Guys, if you have any questions about the BTR Stage 2 and the kit that I put together, make sure you check out the link in the description to that particular video. But if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. I get to every single one of them as quickly as I possibly can. I appreciate you guys watching this video. I appreciate the continued support up to this point. More stuff coming for the channel, so subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next one.